Everyone, I hope you're all well. Welcome to my channel. If you've not been here before, it's where I talk about twin flame process. So this week is building towards full moon in Scorpio, which is on the 26th, 27th. So early next week. It's what is it today? 19th. Yeah, I think it's the 19th. It's Monday anyway. So I'm going to pull a few cards, see what they have to say. I hope you've all been well. I hope you've been had exciting things going on in your processes. So I've had a few things happen over that moon that came last week, the new moon. So I had a lump sum of money come back to me from out the blue, something that I would never have even imagined I needed to have any money come back to me from. So that was weird, that turning up. And that's almost to say, just to show me how things can turn up that you didn't even know were coming back to you. Because I had no idea that I even, that was to be expected. So that happened. I then got triggered by something really, I had a really strong trigger come in, I should say that, but I didn't get triggered, not at all. So I was just kind of looking at it, what happened, and with a bit of curiosity, as in, well, what would have triggered me massively. It's not triggering me at all. So there was that. That was interesting. Since the last video, I said all the health stuff still coming up and being guided to find out more. So I've still got that going on. It's kind of finishing, I feel, for the moment. Soon it's going to be finishing. One thing that's happened, that I've been having the hot flashes for 7 years since I went into perimenopause, and they have practically stopped, as in maybe 1, 2 or 3 a day. And I just actually made a video for someone, and normally once I start talking, because my body heats up even more, I have one, but I didn't have one during the whole video I made, so I have to see how this one goes. So that was that's really unusual for me for that to be happening. So it just feels like everything's balancing out, because the hot flashes are like the masculine energy. I've noticed as well, the ones that I have are coming, it's really strange. It's like if I start to think about something negative, that's when I'm having one. And if I start to think about him, and you know how you have the conversation in your head that sometimes goes on between you. So when that comes in, if I go into ego in the conversation that I'm having with him, if it's not from higher self, I start to flash as well, so I get really hot. So that's just interesting seeing that. Like I say, they're really down, so that's really good, because it's really good. It just feels really good. Feels like being born again. I've got a jumper on. I haven't worn jumpers in the house for like 7 years, So, saying that, like I say, I might start flashing. I have to strip it off in a minute, but you never know. Let's hope for the best. Right. So what else has been happening or going on? Let's just get the cards out and have a look. Let's just see what they're going to say. Okay. So it's a reading for the feminine, predominantly feminine energy is what we're talking about here. We've got 3 of Wands. It's something on the horizon. So what's coming is what we're going to be looking at. Form showing up. Page of Pentacles, that's form showing up in the physical world, new things showing up. So that's what we're looking at. We're looking at what's coming in the form of new things showing up from the feminine energy, like I said. So at the moment, we're in that really sweet spot where it is very feminine, kind of deep breathing. They're talking about really grounding into the physical world, but in a really like fluid way. Oh, it's Scorpio moon that's coming, so it's like grounding into like a emotional well-being is what they're saying, the fluidity of form. So okay, so it's like what can show up Three of Wands energy, what shows up, physical form in the physical world, Page of Pentacles, from the feminine energy in Scorpio. So Scorpio is feminine and it's really deep and it's really fluid. So how can we get more in touch with that deep fluid side of ourselves and really go towards the feminine energy in a really good way? So it's like healthy forms of self-soothing, right? So there's ways of doing things, isn't there? Speaking personally, what I've known from we can look at past and then present and going forward. Self-soothing behaviours in the past for me would have been like eating loads of sugar, drinking loads of alcohol, taking loads of recreational drugs. Not that there's anything wrong with that in the past, because that's where I had to be, because there was so much self-soothing that needed to be done. Right now it's about healthy forms of self-soothing moving into the future. So there was other ways it can do that. So CBDB oil, CBDB. I call it CBDB because there was a children's television channel in England. It's called CBBBs. It's the same thing. I don't know. I guess I could call it CBGB, which is a nightclub in New York. But just because it makes me laugh, basically. CBD oil, anything like that. Anything recreational that takes you to a better place. So you know what those things are, right? If they're good for you, if they feel good for you, do it. There isn't any judgment. Some people need a certain amount of alcohol still. Nobody's judging that. Things that take you to a better place, better food. So I would say really, it's really funny looking back, because if I look back at my life, in the first half of my life, up to 40 years old, was self-soothing through recreational drugs and alcohol use. Now, people would have said, well, that's really bad for you. You shouldn't do that. Oh, you're going to, that's going to kill you. And there was, when I was going out and doing loads of ecstasy in nightclubs, there was all these scare stories in the media about people dying from like one hit of ecstasy. And at the time when I was doing that, I used to take it nearly every night of the week for a period of, 5 years, something like that. So, and what's really interesting that I'm finding out now, it's like all that collapsing is like all this stuff around food. So really the self-harm I was doing was through eating loads of wheat and carbohydrates and using toxic seed oils. And that's all the things that were being promoted in the media as being good for you. And through the government dietary guidelines, and it's now collapsing that, and I'm seeing a full picture of why nothing did me harm back then, and all that smoking pot and stuff, and what did the harm, and where I've ended up now in having to correct all that harm. So it's like adequate forms of self-soothing and the judgment, right? Because you get all that judgment in the media. So I'm not saying anything either way for anybody else out there. I've just said what happened for me. You might have a completely different scenario, and I'm not arguing that with you. But what is the truth of what is healthy for you to self-soothe coming up at this moon? So look into that for what is right for you. There's other things just that are soothing, being in nature, being around animals, eating healthy food, even the fasting, making me do more of that, fasting, that kind of stuff. Mineral water, electrolyte water, and also having really nice languishing in a bath filled with mineral salts, aromatherapy oils, those kinds of things, loads more things, holistic therapies, herbs, adaptogens, ashwagandha, ginseng, that kind of stuff. There's all these things out there, a lot of herbal things they're talking about that are really good for us that we've not been investing in enough, in our health. So Mother Earth, get in touch with the earth, get in touch with what comes from the earth, and use that for your benefit. That's the feminine intuition, using the feminine intuition of what is best for you, what's coming up that's best for you. Like I'm saying, I'm not going to go out and take a load of ecstasy now at 56 years old. That was something when I was very young. But certainly using herbs and certainly using adaptogens and finding out even more about that as I go forward. and how those things can have a profound effect on the physical body. So maybe something like that there. Same for you. So this is how we're using the feminine energy to our advantage by getting in touch with the earth around us. That's what Mother Earth is all about this card, Mother Earth. She's not the Pentacles woman, she's a different card. She's like the energy of the earth and a feminine energy connected to the earth. So I've got that there. What's coming? Physical form, feminine energy connected to the earth. Well, the reason that that's showing there is because we're always rolling forward to a physical reunion. The physical reunion is coming on top of everything in your life being addressed and being solved and being in place for you to be in that physical reunion. So first of all, it's you that comes into place in your physical environment, in your physical body, in your intuition, in your knowingness around what is best in the physical life, to live in the physical life, to be healthy, whole, happy. Because remember, like, the physical body creates also a lot of the emotions, the processes that go on in terms of metabolizing everything your physical body can create, or whatever emotions you're feeling when you're into twin flame connection. The feminine form, the feminine physical form is connecting to the masculine energy and is bringing in the wholeness and healing of the masculine energy as well. So your intuition feeds into their intuition. That's where they get insight from. That's where they get light bulb moments from. And that's where they heal themselves, so they can come into a place for physical reunion as well. And not only that, but moving forward from physical reunion is about you both being in balance harmoniously inside yourselves and moving forward in a continuous manner from that balanced energy, rather than getting triggered and it going out again. So like I say, your physical body, the healing inside the physical body is helpful for things like triggering, and especially for the masculine. So the learning that the feminine does, so it comes from intuition, right? So you just might get you never know, at the Scorpio, as we come towards the Scorpio moon, because it's what it's all about, you might just get an aha moment, like, oh, I really feel like reading about herbal antidepressants or adaptogens for the adrenals. Those are they help with fight or flight symptoms. Fight or flight is when you react to a trigger. So you might just get something coming in that tells you to look into that. And even if it's not for you, because if you're connected to somebody and they have it, and a lot of the masculines have PTSD. They have PTSD because they've been through energetic wars. So it's not even necessarily, it could be connected to things in their physical life, but it can also just be because of the energetic process they've been through. And like we said before, in those astral wars, they're fighting actual wars. So they've got PTSD, energetic PTSD. So you could be taking something or learning about something that's going to balance them through you taking it, through you knowing about it, more likely through you taking it and then maybe passing on the information, or just through you taking it because you're connected energetically. It helps them balance out because you're connected through everything: mind, emotions, physical body and energy. All right, so we've got that coming up. But yeah, it's really good for Scorpio coming up, because sometimes Scorpio moons can be really intense emotionally and in a kind of negative way, because a lot has to come up to be healed. But it feels like what's coming up is information to be used, coming through. Scorpio is such an intuitive sign as well. So yeah, feminine intuition basically. Let's have a look. Chariot, which is masculine and feminine energy moving forward. So as you say, it's like what you learn as the feminine as you go through this process is all about the masculine and the feminine moving forward. And at the point of reunion, which is where we're getting to, is going to be the masculine and feminine moving forward through the physical dimension together from that point of understanding. So what's coming in at the Scorpio moon is coming through your intuition, for you to be coming into a place of being ready for the masculine and feminine to move together in the physical world. First of all, they have to come together inside of you. 7 lessons, masculine and feminine. Beyond energy, once you go through your process and you're at the end of your process, your energetic process, which is the up and down in vibration, going into ego, back into higher self, clearing out the ego. Once you finish that, you're harmonizing inside of yourself, so you're coming to a level playing field 0 point, right, where you're not going up and down anymore and you're not purging. So from there, what you take on board from there and you move forward with is not about you purging and going up and down in that way. It's about you taking on board what you need for you both to move forward through the physical life together into old age, right? Transformation, death card. So we've got things transforming right at the centre of the reading. Very much Scorpio. Scorpio is the sign of transformation. So let's see what else they say about that. 8 of Wands. 8 of Wands is energy, and it's energy coming and going, moving both ways. You can see it's number 8. So the 8 is representative of the spiral connection of twin flame process. So it's representative as well of the ego and the higher self and how you move through those opposing energies as you move through the process. It's also representative of the masculine and feminine connection and how each person that's involved in that one whole connection, which is one whole vibration, is a part of the process as well. So masculine energy brings to the feminine, feminine clears, sends energy back to the masculine. So it's representative of that, really. So what we've got here going on at the moon is a massive clearing. We've got transformation, masculine and feminine at work, number 7, lessons. And then we've got the backwards and forwards movement of energy and the connection through the vibration. So it's going to be a really transformational time coming up. Feminine energy here, which is acknowledging the earth, basically, and acknowledging the connection to the earth. So let's see what else there is. Dark to light, 5 of Swords, which is the battle, which is the movement from higher vibration to lower vibration again, from ego to higher self, and the clearing that creates, and the authentic vibration that creates, connected to the feminine, connected to the transformation. So it's going to be a transformational moon coming through the feminine energy in terms of ending the saga that goes on, the battle of the dark to the light. Let's see what else comes up. King of Wands, mastery of masculine energy. So we've got form showing up, transformation and the mastery of the masculine energy. And connected to that, the feminine energy, grounding into the physical experience, transforming dark to light. So this could be triggers showing up. Like I said, I had a trigger show up, and essentially all triggers show up in this process. They all show up purposefully for you to master the triggers. So you're going to get triggers basically until you've learned, and it's not a mental learning, so it's nothing that's ever wrong, and it's nothing that you're ever doing wrong or anything like that. It's just a process of you coming into a better arrangement energetically with the triggers that show up, which is actually mastery of the masculine energy, because the masculine energy is the ego, and the ego is the part of you that gets triggered. So when you see a trigger in the physical dimension, something going wrong, you know, the other week, the one I'm talking about, I ripped the floor and the liner or the flooring up as I moved the fridge. And years ago, I would have gone ballistic at that, you know. And I just looked at it and I was like, oh, there's a trigger, and carried on with my day. And even now, I still look at it, I'm like, there's that trigger, because it's right in the middle of the floor. And it's still not triggering me, and it's kind of amazing. So, but it's not like I'm trying to not be triggered. It just isn't triggering me. It's just not having any effect. It's like all the energy's gone out of it. So, and it's your ego when you get triggered, because it's like, well, you want things to be different. You don't want them to look like they do in the physical dimension. You want everything to be perfect. You want everything to be like, you know, just like all right for you, so you can feel all right in relation to it. And really, the journey that we're on, the mastery of the ego, is the feeling all right anyway, no matter what is showing up in the physical dimension. All right, so it's a completely different energy. It's like, I feel all right no matter what is around me, not in reflection to what is around me, not because this is in place and that's in place. Because ultimately, the end of the process is you feeling all right because the person that you're connected to is not in your life or anywhere around you. but you're feeling all right, because that's the big trigger, isn't it? And at the end of the process, you come back together with that person from a distinct separation. So what you're really clearing when you're clearing all the triggers is you're clearing your path to reunion. Because when you're no longer triggered by any trigger, you've got to the place where you're not going to be triggered by them at all in any sense. So it's never going to be about what they do or what they say or how they act, making your life feel all right. It's going to be about you just feeling all right anyway, and what they do being about them, and you looking at it like I looked at the torn up lino. Like, okay, well, that's your life. That's not me. It's not making me feel any which way or loose, you know? So that's the mastery of the masculine energy. You master it from inside of yourself in that way by no longer being triggered. And like I say, it's not something you can't think your way into it, because the thinking is the ego. You can only become the broader perspective and look at it from outside of self, from higher self, right? So that's your process as a feminine in moving into that higher self position, which is a broader perspective, and just seeing your whole life like it's laid out around you like a bunch of toys in a playroom in a big mess, and just be like, well, that's it, that's how it is, but I feel fine, you know? So feminine energy transformation of dark to light, that's what the transformation of dark to light is. It's transformation of ego to higher self. So it's coming into that higher self position, which is a transformation you're going through as a feminine, which is what this moon that we're going to go towards, this Scorpio moon, is transformation of feminine energy in a very emotional way, fluid way, right? So it's being fluid emotionally, which means that you have the adaptability to be able to look at the mess around you and whatever that is and not be triggered by it, because you've got more flexibility emotionally in coping with what is showing up in your physical life. And in that way, you're not getting triggered. And the whole idea, the whole reason for that is because the feminine energy moves into that energy, and on the coattails of that comes the masculine energy. You're mastering the masculine energy. That's the masculine energy inside of you, but you're connected to somebody who is operating from the masculine energy. They cannot transform without you transforming. So in you transforming that way, they are transforming because you're connected. So as you come into that mastery, they are mastered. You're kind of mastering them, but you've got a whole vibration between you, and their physicality is surrounded by that vibration. So, well, yeah, really, you're kind of mastering them, but then they come into their own mastery. So in a physicality, you're separate energies, separate entities, right? Vibrationally, you're one. Separate physically, vibrationally one. Right, so form showing up, transformation, mastery of masculine energy. But if it's anything, if your process has been anything like mine, maybe you're a little bit before me in the process. Maybe if you were before me, you probably wouldn't be watching me, to be quite honest. If you're where I am, or you might be a bit behind, you could be right at the beginning of this process. And if you're right at the beginning of this process, then you're going to have triggers showing up. And maybe you aren't in the position yet where you come into this understanding of mastery, but you will get there, because it's an automatic process, so you don't have to worry about it. Years ago, I used to get triggered all the time, and now I don't get triggered at all. And I've never put any, I've noticed from a broader perspective, because I've come into higher self, and everybody does that, but I've never put I've never like tried to not get triggered. You can't try not to get triggered. You just are going to get triggered until you move into more higher self. And every time we go through a moon like this, we're transforming feminine energy into that mastery over what shows up in the physical world, because that is the process. Because you go from being triggered by that person, separating from, trigger, 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 all about them, trigger, 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 all about everything else that ever could be, and other people and all sorts of things, come out of the triggers, come back round, spiral of 8, and reunite once you're not triggered anymore. So it's a process that takes care of itself. There's anything wrong, nothing has to be healed. You are in fact a healer. Your process is a healing process. So you are here to do that. It's a known thing. It's what you're here for. There's never anything wrong. You don't need any snake oil. You don't need any holy water. You don't need anything. You will shift with the moons. All right. As you come into more mastery. spiral. So like I say, yeah, you might be right at the beginning where you're getting triggered a lot, but just know at the end you don't get triggered anymore. The one thing you keep your eye on in this process, and the only thing you have to keep your eye on that's beneficial for you, is your higher self position, your ability to see the broader perspective and not get sucked down into ego, even when you're in higher self. Yes, you're going to get sucked into ego when you're in ego and you're hitting that dark energy because you're transforming the ego. Then you come into higher self and you feel better. That is your chance when you feel better to gain more broader perspective, to go even higher than feeling better through your emotions and go into seeing better through your seeing eye, through your all-knowingness, right? Through your broader perspective, your higher self, right? And take on board what's showing there for you. So when it comes up and you're feeling this true connection to this person, you're feeling their feelings like they're your feelings, you're reading their mind and their thoughts, and at the beginning of the process you might just be guessing that you're doing that or thinking you're making it up, but I can assure you you're not. It's actually what you're doing. So when you're getting it, when you're in that, when you're feeling good, take that on board and take that as your position and you can just try and, well, no, sometimes you get completely taken out of that position when you go right down into ego, but just know that it's there. You can, at the end of the process, you have that at the background, even when you go back down into ego. It's like you have the all-seeing eye behind you saying, yeah, you're in ego, but you know there's more to this than that. So just that's the one thing that you can keep your eye on is your higher self position, because that is beneficial. Okay, one here. Four of Pentacles now. Things on the horizon energetically now. Transformation. So that's what's on the horizon for us, because that's what we're asking about. What is going to go on at that Scorpio moon? Transformation is going to go on. It's on the horizon and it's from now. So it's actually starting now. So that's through till next week, right? So it's about a week long reading. I reckon we're looking at next Wednesday. Hang on, I'm trying to look at the calendar. Maybe next Thursday, that's the 29th. Oh, we could be looking till the end of May, actually. Because it's a supermoon. That'll be why we're looking at this energy now, because it's a supermoon and that's really strong energy. So I'll give it a week either side of that moon, actually. Normally it's about 3 days, 3 or 4. I'll give it 7 days either side if it's a supermoon. It's going to have a big build and it's going to have a slow diminish, that energy of that transformation. So it can be coming, it's here to transform masculine and feminine and come into balance, 8 of Wands, right? Achieve 0 point. It's coming through form in the physical, and it's for mastery of the masculine. It's always for mastery of the masculine in that sense. Feminine is transforming the dark to the light, so people could be purging. If you're early in the process, you'll be purging. If you're later on, you'll be seeing with your all-seeing eye. Right? Let's have a look and see what's underneath. If you're later on, you'll be broader perspective on it. You'll just be noticing what's coming in and going. Temperance, which is a back and forth, right? So this is what passes back and forth between twins. Transformation. It feels quite serious for the masculine. I can feel my twin's higher self in the background, and normally he's laughing and joking and wanting to have fun in these readings, and he feels quite serious. It's like masculine energy, right, in the form of the masculine higher self of your twin. The higher self of your twin, I should say, because it's just higher, it's not masculine or feminine. Anyway, but that energy is always wanting reunion, right? So what is the vibration of you and your twin? Just one vibration is always wanting reunion. So it's always, that's why this advice is given, because the reunion is always wanted. It's always been looked forward to getting there by both the masculine and the feminine. Maybe not through the physical eyes in the physical world, because there's a lot of confusion in the physical eyes in the physical world, and there's a lot of process that is the elimination of the ego from the one that's working from the masculine going on. So they can't always be in that understanding, because if they were, they wouldn't be going through the process. They have to be an ego to a certain extent. First of all, it has to be them. They have to recognize it, and then they have to move out of it. But always from higher self, reunion is wanted. So always from higher self, transformation is appreciated, and it is looked forward to, and it is the ideal, the aim, right? So it's like transformation at the point of this moon, because it's a super moon as well, and it's in Scorpio, so that's a massive amount of transformational energy is required by both, and things can shift drastically. It's like on the head of a pin. So it's like dancing on the head of a pin. It's like something so refined and defined, transformational energy, that it's really powerful in transforming the journey itself. Okay, so we're looking at really powerful transformational energy passing back and forth between these two people. You see the people asleep in the bottom of the card. It really means that you don't need to be here for it. In fact, with the moons, it's best to be at rest. So it's best to take yourself out of the game by resting and recuperating. When you're resting, when you're asleep, when you're napping, you're in a state of no mind. So transformation is easy. And also when you're resting, you're not connected to your emotions because you're asleep. So it's a good place to be emotionally as well. So I really advise sleeping through the actual point of the moon if you can. Whatever time it is in your country that we hit the actual moon, it's the best thing is to be asleep with it, because that's when the most transformation takes place. And that's what I always do. I go to sleep whenever the moon is. I'll either sleep in or I'll go to bed early or I'll have a nap, whatever it is. So do that if you can. It's the best place to be. You don't need to be thinking, you don't need to be feeling at the time of that moon. Transformation is energetic, it takes care of itself. So it's like you transform when you're asleep and then you wake up feeling different a lot of the time. A lot of it is done at night. All right, let's get one more out on these. Fear, transforming fear. Seven of Swords is fear. Healing, the Knight of Pentacles. So the healing of the journey, like we say, it's a transformational journey, and you are the healing that takes place. And the healing is the transformation of fear. So it's nothing about, like they say, it's not about having to heal yourself, from an outsider's point of view, like something's wrong with you. Certain points on the journey, it might look like that. I remember when I thought I had all sorts of issues and I read loads of self-help books. It did enlighten me to a certain extent, but then beyond that, what I found out about was all of this energetic work. So then I realised how everything I'd ever been through that had created whatever might have been an issue was part of my energetic process and had to have happened for me to essentially appear to heal from it by coming into more understanding and awareness, and final understanding and awareness of everything that could appear to be an issue or coming from an issue starts with fear. So that's where I've ended up in my learning curve, which is just the end point is if it ain't making you feel good, it's fear that's not making you feel good. So, and that is in both twins. And like I say, the masculine takes on board a lot of fear, like they've been through a war. PTSD, when you feel it coming through you, a lot of the time, anything like panic attacks and triggering. So when you see a trigger in the physical world, right, and you're going into fight or flight around that trigger, that's a representation of what's going on in masculine energy that you're healing in terms of fear. So that mastery of that trigger is a healing of fear, and that's what the journey's about. So when you get the triggers at the beginning of the journey that are about your twin, that's only the start of it, right? Because by the end of the journey, it's everything that could trigger you at all in the physical world. That is, you don't get triggered by anymore. So you go from like one extreme to the absolute other, where you're a complete master of the physical dimension, because once you've mastered fear and all the triggers, your vibration is in perfect harmony with everything that you want. So the learning experience of the whole journey, the healing and learning, healing of the whole journey is understanding that everything in the physical world shows up from a state of no fear at all in the vibration. So what you're really healing is your vibration. So that's why everything has to happen to you as you go through the process of your life on this journey. And the mastery you do come into, like I say, it's never will I, won't I. You always will do, because it's what you're here to do, and it's what you're here for, as a forerunner of the energy of the law of attraction, working from vibration only, right? So let's put these down. Clarity over how things show up in the physical world, and also not just how they show up, because we know they show up from feeling good, right? If you feel good and you've got it in your vibration, it will show up at some point. And of course, you can delay that by some points of feeling bad. So feeling bad is just a block to what shows up in the physical world, right? So the clarity there around that is easy to understand, isn't it? If I feel good most of the time, more of the time, all of the time, I'm going to get more of what I want showing up in the physical world. So that learning is easy to take on board. There's a clarity with that, right? Knight of Swords. Mastery of the masculine energy and the mind, right? So how do you get to that feeling good most of the time, all of the time? It's by no mind. It's a state of no mind. It's not worrying and it's not fearing. And the what's the biggest representation of fear and worry in this journey is the one that you're connected to. And at the beginning of the process, where it's all about them and what they're doing and what they're saying and why they're not with you, right? And by the end of the process, like I say, it kind of goes out. It goes out of your mind. It's no mind on them. So they're not the issue anymore. There was no issues, in fact, at the end of the journey, because you clear them all through the journey and you're not triggered anymore. So ultimately, it's not just what you get coming to you from your vibration all the time through not being in fear and not being triggered because you're not in fear. It's them coming towards you, because at the end of the journey, they won't be in fear either, because you've got a shared vibration. So there's no fear between you. So that's actually a point of transformation that we're going through now. So some people are at the beginning of the journey. They might be going through triggers at this moon to eventually lead them into that understanding. And other people are at the end of the journey. And what they're going to have showing up beyond the understanding the law of attraction, how it applies when you're in physical form, is a result of the journey that comes from the shared vibration, or the whole vibration of the two that's separate. And that's showing up. So there's different things showing up for different people through the transformation of fear, which is the journey itself. Right, let's have a look at Three of Wands. Ace of Wands, which is brand new things showing up on the horizon. Brand new things. And you see in the Ace of Wands, it's energetic. So everything before it's physical is vibrational, is energetic. So it's there, it's hovering energetically, right? Waiting to be shown up, to show up in the physical. Well, that's always the physical reunion. That's always there waiting to show up. And it's never wrong if it doesn't, because you might just still be in process. Doesn't mean it's wrong, doesn't mean it's not going to. Like they said, you've got to, when you come out of the ego and thinking it's never going to happen, go up into your highest perspective and hover there and watch the process itself. You have to liberate yourself into higher self so you can see the process. That's what these videos are for, right? Four of Pentacles down here, the now moment in the physical environment. Masculine, the masculine made manifest, the King of Pentacles, the manifested version of the masculine energy. So it's hovering over there, and it's transforming here through transforming fear to show up in the physical world. And the moment it shows up is when you're ready for it, right? And you'll be ready for it when there's no more triggering going on inside of you. Like I say, that's not something you can force or push. It's just something that kind of organically happens as you pass through the process at the end of the process. It's complete mastery, which him there, is mastery of the physical environment. He's a four, he's a king, he's mastery of the physical environment. So once you master your vibration, which it is here, mastery of vibration, masculine energy, through another four, through mastering the mind, and how your mind, that Four of Swords there is the mind, mastery of the mind, and how that's when you're not triggered, is how this shows up. That's how you're connected, right? You're connected through everything: mind, emotions, vibration, and process. It's not just a, how do you put it? It's not like everything is known, right? Everything here is known. There isn't anything that's an accident or that is a coincidence. That's why we call it synchronicities. And there's nothing here that's ever wrong. It's only ever a sign. Whatever you're seeing is a sign to where you're at. And where you're at is pretty much where your twin's at as well. So they're not separate in how they're proceeding to you. They're maybe a little bit behind the masculine because they have to be on the coattails, but they're still proceeding. So let's go here, feminine. 3 of Swords, and that is the pain of the feminine and in the mind as well. And brand new beginning in the physical world. Right, in Ace of Pentacles. So what comes through your pain and suffering is what they just said. And it surely is, right, at some point. So this process is brand new beginning in the physical world. Once everything's cleared and you've moved to the end of the process. I just want to say something as well, because this is a funny thing, is that as you move further and further towards the actual reunion itself, you get representations of what is energetic coming through the physical dimension. So if you think that if you know, right, that everything that is energetic is made physical at some point in this process. So as it's moving through, I mean, all of it actually, but I've just noticed it a lot at the end. But as you move through the process, everything is made physical. So it's like your thoughts can hurt, right? And their thoughts can hurt. So when you're in a lot of physical pain, it's like the releasing of the ego. It's like releasing all those negative thoughts. And those negative thoughts that have been in the vibration cause aches and pains and stuff like that. But how I've really noticed it at the end of the process is how much pain is being asked of me to bring through my physical experience. So the reunion, the physical reunion, right? The birthing of the physical, Ace of Pentacles, on that dark to light, it's like an actual physical birth. And physical births are painful. So this pain that's coming out on the Mother Earth is like the thoughts of, I think it's the thoughts of stepping forward that he's having. And making contact that are really fearful, because what we're transforming now is that fear of that actual last step to be taken is coming through to be felt physically. So I feel them physically, and these like little thoughts. But it's really weird because it's not like, because as you come to the end of the process and you're really in the broader perspective, so you see why everything is. Not just that it is and it's connected, but why it is. And they tell me why, and it's like, I have to feel pain for it to like release. I have to feel the pain. It's not an option, and it's not a negative thing. So I'm doing things like, what did I do? Oh, yesterday I decided to like clear out my clothes in the wardrobe, and I bent down to get some shoes off the floor, and as I came up I hit my crown of my head really hard with like the what you call it, the metal thing, the joint, I can't remember what they're called, that holds the door on, whatever they're called, and I banged my head on it really hard. It was so painful. But they'd said to me, I do reading for myself every morning, pain again. They said, I was like, oh, more pain. So I kind of knew it was going to happen, that I was going to have to go through another extreme like piece of pain. So that was one of the things. Other things like just randomly banging my finger on something or my toe on something, but it's all pain that has to happen, and the pain is actually facilitating the rebirth. So that's just interesting. So it's at the end of the process, it's not, you get to see why that pain is. It's because it's representing birthing pains basically, and it's a helpful thing, which is the weirdness, right? It's like it's a really good thing. So I'm like, yeah, pain, which is just a bizarre thing to be, but it's feeling good, right? So even those things, I'm like, yeah, it's great. So I'm literally feeling good about everything. So once you're in the broader perspective and you see it from that understanding, there's nothing to be ever not feel good about, ever. Because you see everything as a representation of what is energetic coming through. And even what appears could be negative means it's just pushing through negativity and fear and bringing you into better energy anyway. So just say that, right. Chariot, manifestation. So we've got masculine and feminine energy moving together. A manifestation in the magician, like magic, coming out of the blue, right? It's also the higher self of the masculine itself. So it's like we say, right, this process that you go through that appears to be one thing and is another thing completely. In the background, the higher self of the one who's operating from the masculine knows exactly what's going on and wants reunion. And that energy, you might even notice it around you, like a supportive energy, like that person that you once knew is laughing and joking with you at the end of the process, because it's getting readier and readier and readier and readier and readier and readier to happen. And for that manifestation to occur, right? So we've got that there. And let's go here, 8. Relationship in the Hierophant. So it's all moving towards relationship. Like they said, high level soulmate. Well, it's more than soulmate. It's a high level relationship. It is coming from the sun. So it's vibrationally really high, really healthy, opportunity. It's an opportunity relationship. That means opportunity for really good times moving ahead. But of course you have to transform everything that was fear. So like we say, you'll be wherever that is in terms of your process. But just know at the moon that's coming, you are transforming fear. It's being brought by the masculine higher self. So all those triggers are brought to you. So see it in that way as well. You can't really look at that person that you're connected to as a person outside of yourself in any single way at all. And you do when you're in ego, right? And you see them as separate and you want to moan and complain about them or find something lacking, either lacking in them or lacking in you not being together, right? But you have to move away from that limited understanding. In fact, it's not even an understanding because you're not separate and you have to move into the higher perspective, the higher self of the masculine energy, and sit up there with that higher self and know that the two of you coming together and moving together, first of all, it's energetic. And in that, you have to be a singular energetic process, processing the two energies that you are inside of yourself, as they will process those energies inside of themselves because you're processing those energies inside of yourself. And then you will move through the transformation of fear and bring to you, through that energetic process that's bringing to you in the 8, the manifestation of this high level relationship that's going to come from and move forward from absolutely no fear. See, look at that state of mastery of that man with the 2 others bowing down. It's like this, and he's holding the wand. That's the wand that appears in the 6 of Wands, which is a success in the vibration. He's holding a successful vibration, right? And he's absolutely mastering the master of the universe, right? He's mastering the world because you master through energy, through the understanding and the replication of energy, which is what that 8 is. So first of all, you master it through the process that you're in, which looks like it's a person and 2 people or whatever, and then you see that it's energy, signs, synchronicities, things coming out of the blue. And then you master all fear because you realise everything is vibrational before it comes physical. So you can't do anything but master vibration if you know that. And that is the fact. So you've got to, because otherwise you're just fighting yourself, right? And everything you want. And then from there, you come into even more mastery of everything else that could have shown up from any place, because as you clear more vibration through, less comes through. So the triggers get further and few between and really noticeable, just so you can master them distinctly, definitely master them, right? And see that you're mastering them in a very broader perspective way. And then more comes out of the blue. And eventually, as that mastery moves through and you're mastered, you have mastered through your mind the masculine energy. What arrives in the physical universe is the mastered version of the masculine energy, the physical representation, the twin, right? And it's always there on the horizon because it's always what you're doing the process for. And it will come out of the blue. That's manifestation. Masculine and feminine energy moving together, harmonized. Lessons on that. Number 1, coming in out of the blue. That's it. All right, so that's what we're That's what's happening with the moon that's coming, and it's starting now. And anything else? Let's just put these back together, see if anything comes up. I don't think so. Let's see. What have we got? Back and forth. So some might have communication, right? This is reaching out in the physical world. You might have communication. So just notice what your intention is. So sometimes you just got to be, sometimes it's about mastering ego. Maybe it's, you can want something really badly, right? You could want to be with someone really, really badly. That could be the top of your list. But if you're still halfway through your process, then that's not going to happen until you're at the end of your process. So to see, just to know that can help you, because sometimes there's like a little bit of a holding back from someone that is the less triggering scenario, maybe. Also, you could notice when they contact, or you could be contacting them, I guess. Some people reach out. But notice what is triggering rather than being triggered. So, everything's about the triggers, basically. So if you put the triggers at your top of your list, just reshuffle that, and physical reunion at the end of the list, then you'll be knowing why you're having physical contact, and you can keep your eye on that. Just look for the triggers. Master the triggers. What else have we got? Put these away. Reunion, 6 of Cups. It's all about reunion, but it's not about just you can't go straight from A to Z. You have to move through the steps, otherwise it wouldn't be a process. Wisdom, it's about gaining the wisdom that will allow you to stay in a harmonized relationship forever. All right, so you could have this back at any point. It could go in and out, in and out, in and out, just like the triggers themselves. When it comes in eventually, when you've cleared all ability to trigger, you become unable to be triggered. It means it's going to come in and stay forever, because if it's not triggering, it won't go out again. 2 people, that's all that says. 2 people, 2 of Pentacles. Emperor, that's the mastered version of the masculine, so that's how he is when he comes back. Master of his own vibration, not being triggered himself, to a certain extent not feeling like it's got PTSD, not feeling emotional, because you can't come back to somebody if you're feeling worried and emotional, so all that gets cleared. We've got the Fool showing up. That is a brand new journey. These all got confused now. Masculine energy, let go. Queen of Cups, which is go with the flow. Rebirth, and the Empress. And I think I'm going to leave it at that. So it's coming. It's always on its way. But it's just look at the steps that lead up rather than that. Because if you just look at that, you won't get anywhere apart from being in that. And that's it, really. All right, lots of love. If anybody wanted a personal reading, my details are below. Go to the website, have a read of it, because it gives you all the details there. And thank you to that person that pointed out that I forgot to put my email on, because I put that on there now. So that's how you can contact me if you want a reading. All right, lots of love. Take care. Bye.